All right, guys, a new football season is upon us, and we warned you that things were going to start changing around here at White Widow Sports. The weekly podcast and everything like that kind of set aside. We're trying to give you some different kinds of content, being that this is our first true football season here on the channel. And so one of the things that we knew we wanted to do for sure was bring you from the world of college football a weekly series about the pick'ems. So if you guys have been on ESPN or maybe another platform, you've probably seen the games, played them with friends, where every week they give you 10 games, you pick the winners. There's some different variations of it, but we wanted to do that here on the channel as well. So you guys will see what we are picking for those 10 games every week. Maybe talk about some of the bigger games going on. So, guys, as far as this type video goes, we won't waste too much time talking about it. We know what this is. We know what we're doing, so let's get into it. First game, we've got Northwestern at Tulane. Brian, who do you have?
This one was actually kind of tough, but I'm going to stick with Northwestern on this one.
Chris?
Well, let's first just say that I know Northwestern's got a new stadium. Looks like it's a bit smaller, but really cool. I'm not sure if that's actually debuting this year or next year, but either way. On another channel, I talked about my dark horses of group of 5 teams to make the playoffs. Tulane is one of them. I'm picking Tulane here. I know they've got the new quarterback. Let me get that name right. Jake Retzlaff, former BYU guy, had a little bit of trouble. We won't go into that. But I think that plugging in an established starting quarterback like him to a team that's already expected to be pretty good, not saying he's going to be the savior or anything for them, but I am going to ride the green wave for a little while.
Yeah, not much of a surfer, but I'm going to be on a board right beside you. I also have Tulane in that game. Maybe a little bit of an underdog as far as betting lines goes right now, but I think they take care of business at home. So we'll see. Next game, I've got UTEP. Obviously, that's University of Texas at El Paso going against the Utah State Aggies. Chris, we'll start with you this time. Who do you have?
Got Utah State. I just never in my lifetime have I seen UTEP be that good. Maybe a year or two there. Utah State's probably just got more talent. This is kind of a toss-up, but I think Utah State's got a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you. It's US.
Yeah, I think I was looking at it earlier, and ESPN tells you how often, as far as percentage points goes, that one team is picked, and I think it was at 95% Utah State at the time.
Yeah.
So I did not help that percentage close up. I've also got Utah State as well. So not too much to talk about with that game. I don't expect it to be one that any one of us are even watching. So we'll see about that. But a much more interesting game coming up next. And I don't know about you guys, but this might have been the hardest one for me to pick. I switched my pick back and forth a couple of times, just going off of vibes. You've got number 9 LSU going against number 4 Clemson, 2 top 10 teams going against each other. And as much as I wanted to pick LSU and initially picked LSU, I've got to go with Clemson at home. I've talked about it in previous videos. I think this could be one of those perfect storm type years for Clemson, and it's got to start this week at home. Beating a top 10 team is going to set them up for success down the season.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I went with Clemson as well, and what it really came down to is where they were playing. If they were playing in LSU, I would have gone LSU. So I've got Clemson. I think at Clemson they're going to be super tough. I get it, they're an ACC team, which is not known for their toughness, but Clemson will be that team, and there's my pick.
And Chris, do you also have the Tigers winning, or do you have the Tigers losing?
I do also have the Tigers winning.
Great, let's move on.
LSU has a lot of talent returning. They've got a lot of expectations. But Clemson, on the other hand, is in the same boat. But I think some of that talent's more established, and they're actually projected to be one of the national title contenders. And I just think when you look at them side by side, you almost just have to give the home field advantage and the team that knows its identity just a little bit more. So I've also got Clemson.
Yep. Next game, maybe not quite as high profile, but maybe one a little more near and dear to our hearts. We've got the Georgia Southern Eagles going west to play the Fresno State Bulldogs, who have already tasted defeat once this season in week 0. So in week 1, Brian, who do you have winning?
Now I'm gonna let y'all go first.
Okay. Well, Fresno State, like you said, we've already seen play. I didn't catch much of that game, but I did see them get blown out, and they were supposed to lose, just not by that much. Being on the inside of Georgia Southern, I'm actually headed to Statesboro tomorrow. I will have already been and come back by the time most people see this. I think that Clay Helton is a pretty good coach. He's not put out a ton of results. I think that he's finally got all his guys in there. He's got what he wants to do in there. And I think that these teams, like you said, you can see the percentages. It's overwhelming Fresno State. I think that this game is actually pretty even, and I think if Coach Clay Helton is going to get Georgia Southern going, that it starts right here. You go back to a place that you were a head coach in California, at least, not in Fresno, but obviously he was at USC before. I've got Georgia Southern making a little bit of a statement here because I think this is a little bit of a do we believe in this kind of coach if you're a Georgia Southern fan? Do we believe in him now in year 4, I want to say? Because this is where you really prove yourself. So I think Georgia Southern goes out there, is a bit of an underdog, gets it done.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you guys would both have I'm going to pick with my head and not my heart mentality, see that 91% Fresno State pick and just go with the majority. And I was going to be very happy to be a part of the loud, vocal minority. Give me those Eagles, Georgia Southern all the way. I picked them. I'm going to pick them every week. It didn't matter if they were playing Georgia. It does not matter to me. I'm always picking Georgia Southern, maybe to my detriment in these things. I'll pick Austin P to beat Georgia based off of the same principle. And if I come in third place because of that's just something that I'm willing to live with. But give me those Eagles. Get after them aggressively.
And this is why I wanted to pick last because I knew y'all two would pick Georgia Southern.
Oh, you
So
didn't know
I
nothing?
did go Fresno State, but not because of the percentages in the app. I did it because they're coming off that big loss. They're going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to be playing at home in their time zone. I think Fresno State's got this one.
They've already learned how to lose this year, and Georgia Southern hasn't. We're just going to give them a second helping. But
Yeah.
we could talk about that all day. Let's go ahead and move on. Arizona Wildcats at home against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Brian, maybe you'd like to go first this time.
Yeah, this was a no-brainer. I'm never going to pick Hawaii. I just don't like their rainbow scheme, but we won't get into that. Give me Arizona.
Yeah, I think Colt Brennan would have to come back from the dead. Maybe that's too soon. I don't know. But Colt Brennan would have to be running these Rainbow Warriors for me to think they stood a chance. Give me Arizona in a landslide.
Or Tommy Chang, who is there, who put up the big numbers before Colt as their head coach. I watched Hawaii win already this year. Let me tell you, they didn't look that impressive in that win at all. I've got Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to be a particularly interesting game. Maybe a little bit better of a game. I'm not sure. It's going to be the Cal Golden Bears traveling to take on the Beavers of Oregon State. I've got Oregon State winning at home. Again, one of those West Coast matchups. Sometimes they come on super late. You watch them because it's the last game of the week. I haven't looked at schedule as far as when this one comes on, but if it's one of those 10 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern time games, I might tune in just because this is those time of the year where I can't get enough football, and I'll watch them until they stop playing the games.
Yep, I agree. Oregon State. I'm gonna be right there with you. I'm probably not gonna watch it. Comes on too late. I've got a bedtime and a schedule to keep, so I will be asleep for that one more than likely.
I happen to do know the game times, and Georgia Southern actually starts at 9:30. So if there's going to be a late game, I'm going to be watching Georgia Southern on that one. I don't know too much about either of these teams, other than this should be a damn conference game. Um, but I feel like just if you're a high school athlete and you're out there recruiting and all that, Cal should be able to pull the bigger recruits. And for that alone, I think that Cal probably in their depth has more than Oregon State does. And maybe I'm completely wrong about that because once again, I don't know too much about these teams. I've not dove into either of them in any of my research for any channel on any video. But I'm going with Cal just based on name brand alone, I guess.
Sure. And then, I mentioned there was a couple of games that I found difficult to pick, and this next one was one of them. It's Utah going against UCLA. UCLA, the home team, but also, as according to my picks, the losing team. I've got Utah winning this one. Chris, what do you think?
I've seen Utah win some season openers lately, and they've looked pretty good. I just don't know what they actually have left, and I feel like UCLA is more on the rise. I believe Nico's there, who's been a big subject, and nothing to do with them, but I just think UCLA has more talent. I think they end that little momentum Utah's had in season openers, so I'll take the Bruins.
Yeah, I'm with Chris on this one. I've got UCLA.
Yeah, not a bad pick. Obviously, taking what might be the best talent on the field at quarterback for UCLA. He could certainly be the X factor in that game, but if he struggles, I think UCLA does as well. That's why I've got Utah. I think they can force some mistakes. Kind of coming a little bit closer to home for us as far as an SEC school goes. South Carolina ranked 13th in the nation, hosting the Virginia Tech Hokies. Brian, who do you have in this one?
Yeah, I had to go with my home state, South Carolina.
Yeah. First off, I completely agree. Once again, made a video on dark horses from the power conferences, and I didn't want to just pick a favorite. I know 13 sounds like a favorite, but South Carolina. Just to summarize a little of what I said in that video, South Carolina's never really had the success you would think they have, even with this 13th ranking. On the same token, they have a Heisman Trophy candidate in
Lenore
Lenore
Sellers.
Sellers. And Virginia Tech is not what you've known for most of mine and Brad's life, at least. Going to a bowl game every year, Virginia Tech is way below what they used to be. Even if South Carolina doesn't live up to their expectations, I say they're going to go ahead and get past this one.
Yeah, I think that one might not even be particularly close. Give me Lenore Sellers. Give me Nick Harbor having a big time performance. Kick off the Heisman campaigns. Gamecocks big.
Yeah.
Next game is also going to be a pretty big one. The second game we're talking about between two top 10 teams. You've got number 6, Notre Dame, going down to Miami, taking their talents to South Beach to take on the Hurricanes, led by a quarterback that you guys are very familiar with. But I think just like he was able to lose a few games at UGA, I think he loses this one. I've got the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, this was extremely hard for me to pick because I think that Miami has a lot of talent that's maybe unproven, has yet to break out, I guess is a good way to put it. And Notre Dame has some talent that they need to, replace and improve their number 6 ranking. Extremely hard to call, but I think that Notre Dame is a more complete team. I think they're going to come in with a better game plan. That's what it seems to me. So I'm going to take Notre Dame.
Yeah, I was back and forth on this one. I really wanted to pick Miami, because Carson Beck's down there. But at the end, I'm like Chris. It's a more complete team. I think Notre Dame's going to take this one, but it will be a very good game and a very close game to watch.
Yeah, I think both of these teams, they lost their quarterbacks. Riley Leonard and Cam Ward are now in the NFL. So you've got a matchup of new quarterbacks. So it's going to come down to who has the better talent around them outside the quarterback position. Carson Beck, he lost his girlfriend. He lost his Lamborghini. Now he's losing the season opener. Like I said, I've got Notre Dame in that one, but it should be a good, entertaining football game. And with that, we've only got one game left to talk about, and it is a big one. The preseason number 1 Texas Longhorns facing a very stiff test as far as the reigning defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. It's number 1 versus number 3. This game is being played at Ohio State. Do either of you think that is the deciding factor of this game?
I think it'll be a factor. I don't know if it'll be the deciding factor.
Yeah, I don't have a deciding factor here either.
I think there's some other factors in there. Arch Manning, obviously, great quarterback, but unproven. I don't think we've seen enough of him yet to say whether or not he's going to be able to lead this team. And this is going to be a big, big test to see what kind of caliber quarterback he's actually going to be. even the great Peyton Manning stumbled. Eli Manning stumbled. This is this kid's first big high-profile game. Yes, he's been at the games. He's been, at the various stadiums, but I don't know that he's ever come in with this kind of pressure. So this one was super hard for me to call. I do think Ohio State is probably the little bit better team. However, I did end up picking Texas, but I do think it's going to be kind of high scoring, and I think it's going to be a really close game.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned not seeing enough of Arch Manning and him being unproven. We haven't seen anything from Julian Sayin yet. And so whereas I think Ohio State has the two best talents that will be on the field on Saturday between Caleb Downs at safety and Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver, Arch Manning at least stands to be the better quarterback in this matchup. So I've also got the Longhorns winning, and I think it's going to be because whereas Ohio State might be the more talented team, so to speak, at the top end, I think Texas, learning from their tough losses last season and preparing Arch Manning to take over and be the unquestioned starter. There's no more Quinn Ewers. Yes, they lost a good bit of talent to the NFL, but Ohio State certainly did as well. Judkins is gone. Henderson is gone. Ibuka is gone. New quarterback in place. They've got a lot of talent that has to prove themselves and step up as well. So I've got Texas in a close one, but also a shootout. Chris, who do you have?
Well, I don't think there's any wrong answer here. If you were asking everyone on the street, if you picked just one or the other, it wouldn't be a stupid pick. But Ohio State is just loaded with talent. So is Texas, though. You kind of just I know you made some really good points, but I think another one that you had that I think we all maybe considered, and I'm just the first one to say it so far, is you kind of had to just go with a gut feeling here at some point. I think Texas was in a lot of high-profile games last year. Sarkisian also been in a lot of high-profile games, and I think it's actually more high-profile games than Ohio State. I know they worked their way through the playoffs and were almost never even in doubt, but that's not this team. That's not the same team. I just think that Texas is number one for a reason. I think they get it done in a close one. I don't really know what the deciding factor here is going to be. I just feel like there's something in my gut that tells me that Texas is going to really show up for this one. Even if they don't keep that number one ranking all season long, I think they're coming in completely ready to prove themselves in this one. So
yeah, maybe a little bit of a championship hangover. Unfortunately, Chris did not save the graphic, so to speak. As far as what you guys are seeing on screen right now, you will see triple Longhorns. I guess we're all horns up for this game. So if Ohio State comes out and blows out Texas and looks like they're returning to championship form, we're all going to look pretty dumb. So if there's any picks that you guys disagree with, whether it be this game or any of the other 9 that we discussed, please feel free to drop a comment. This is something we're going to be doing every week. We look forward to doing it. But we're going to get out of here, guys. We're looking forward to Saturday. Hope you are too. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already.